and welcome to today's Welcome back to another edition of Classic Model Trains. I'm Ron. This week, now we can finally get around to doing this week's episode because they're done cutting all the trees down up front. We're going to work on a G gauge, a big one. Let me show it to you. This big bugger here, it's an Aristo-Craft. Heavy, monster, yes. Got sent in from a customer who wants it worked on. Told me he had an Aristo-Craft train to work on, a 462. That's all he said. I'm like, well, send it in. It sounds like fun. I'll work on it. Never got any pictures. The problem with communication is that people believe it took place. This thing showed up, and I'm like, this giant box, and I open it. I'm like, what in the world's name is this? I had to scare up some track for it. Luckily, I had some. I had to find it. Took a long time to get it into the mix. Says it doesn't work. So I put together my test track out over here, and I wired up this thing here. This was sent in to me by Chuck and Wanda Miller last December. It's a transformer that he made, but it's a pulse width modulated controlled one. So instead of putting out a variable DC voltage that just goes up, it puts out pulses of full voltage, and then it just sends out more or less of them. He made this thing. It's got, well, in real life, those don't do that, but in real life, this does seem to function. And looks like this controls the width of the pulses. And I gotta tell you, I don't see anything going wrong with this thing. At all. Other than it doesn't have the tender. But the box this thing came in the size of the tender. I'd take another box that size and then it wouldn't barely fit. It cost another $40 just to ship it. So we're gonna have to look at this thing looking silly because of the lack of a tender. But this is one thing I always hate. Is that the 12 o'clock chime? Now down at the factory? Yeah. Now I gotta stop because it's lunchtime. I'm never gonna get this done. I was told that it hops up and down, but that is one of the smoothest running things I have ever seen. So now what do we do? Well, I guess we're gonna have to get into it no matter what anyway. Maybe it needs a good servicing. Plus I want to see how it works. So, them wheels roll just as good as a guy could ever want them to. Let me turn it around here. Oh, the headlight don't work. Yeah, I see nothing abnormal about it. So let's put it under the knife, I guess. Throw a little something down to protect this thing. Is it even gonna fit in the shot? Just about not. I think it's so big. Looks like it had enough inspections on it to choke a horse. We got pickups up over here on these front wheels. We got whatever that does down under there for things. Suspension. Side to side, up and down, and this one's actually rigid. Interesting. I don't know what I'm gonna do to hold this. I got to come up, so I gotta get some more towels to hold this. I need a big cradle. And I just don't have one right here. There. That seems to be working. A couple more towels to hold the thing. Now I did go online and did a little digging around and I found this illustrated parts breakdown showing the pieces in here and there. It gives it this part right here. Is this the part? No. Is it this one right over here? Yeah. One of these wheels is off. We got to get down into there and see. Maybe shipping, it just knocked it back into shape or something like that. So we're going to try to get into this area right in there. And it looks like everything is going to be a Phillips. spring. Okay, I'm gonna get these two out. Did that get me what I wanted? Yes. That does have a lot of oil on it. There is a lot of oil in there. These middle ones they're not driven. This one is from the gearbox. That one right there. Oh, I don't want to lose that. It ran smooth enough. Do I want to take all these out? Brakes, features, brake features. Here, drive shaft holding them. I guess I'm gonna have to take those out. I don't know why. What are we even doing? Are those pickups right down there? They sure look like it. The way these rods are built, it's like I'm gonna have to take them apart. Take this set of drivers out. That is made really quite nice. The bushings, there's thrust washers on there. I love it when the refinery's alarm is going off. It's really quite enjoyable. And you're always kind of hoping, is it to test? Paint trays. I'm going to try to keep all my bolts somewhat separated into groups. So I'm taking things off. And then, of course, this way also, when you bump into this, then you'll throw all of your screws everywhere. This is that rear truck right there. All the components for it. Now, this set of wheels here, we've got big screws. I thought this was just free rolling. It sort of is. If I can take, I don't want to take as much apart or as little apart as I can, is kind of what I'm trying to say. So I don't have to have a huge mess. This crank, it's quartered, yeah, one behind. It's got a X on it. This rod, this spacer, another rod. That's not bad. I can see that working. Do the same over here. That one, spacer. This one, is this wheel gonna come out? Ain't never. It's got a wire going down through it. It's soldered on like a pickup. So it looks like this thing picks up from like every single wheel that's on here. Wow, that's a lot of picking up. And adjust my light on the aperture a little bit, made everything brighter. It's looking like these wheels have to come off. There's pickups in behind it. What am I gonna do? Well, I'm gonna eventually take all the wheels out, and then we're gonna see if there's anything loose in any of these. We're gonna clean up all the oil, and we're gonna service it. We're gonna eyeball that motor, and that's the goal. So I guess I'm giving it a once over, because we can't really find anything super wrong with it. How are these on there? Oh, they're timed. Yeah. And I think that one of these pickups is broken on the other side, because I am actually able to lift that up quite high. So this is going to take a lot of brain power to get it put back together, because it's got to be timed. This shaft right here. These right here are the straps that are holding this in and doing pickup stuff. Is this going to come out? No. What more do we need to do? There's screws in here. Ain't never. That was a lot. I don't know why. It just didn't want to come out. Still kind of doesn't. These bushings. There. God, that was like pulling teeth. Well, this one over here did have a wire soldered to it. And there it is right there. Would that bind us up? I don't know. Let's take these out. I feel like I just going about this backwards. These screws are just driven into the plastic. Sure. What's holding this guy in over here now? God, it's it's got more of those pickups. Maybe we can get this out of the way. Go to just this. Pickups are screwed in right there. Yeah. Now we're on to something. Yeah, now I have the ability to fix that one like it's supposed to be. Still don't see anything that would have caused any binding issues. This thing does have just amazing pickups though. Gonna go through with the mineral spirits and Q-tips, clean that up. Little ball bearing right there. Wow. Bushings. Strange how one is open, one isn't. Sure. Yeah, there's some parts. There's some parts here. I think we're gonna have to get into this just because I want to clean those gears up. And this is gonna be more the same. And I guess when I reassemble it, now that I've kind of removed it as an assembly, I will be able to time them. These are on there. It should be pretty straightforward. I can assemble this and then put it back on the chassis. So we got that done. We're going to split this right here. And this should make it where we can get in here and eyeball it to see if anything, okay, it's got some grease on it. These are plastic bushings there. These pickups, I was messing with this one here on the middle one and I broke the other wire off. So that was giving us some problems. We got to put those back together. So I'm going to take the Orless Mineral Spirits. Shows up with its own self-service tray. Put this down somewhere where you can knock it over and ruin something. We're going to go through and just wipe all this out, all this stuff. So we're going to use a lot of the non-tactical Q-tips. Then we're going to come by and lube it up. I'm going to clean all of this because of the excessive oil that's in it. Yeah, this will take a while, I can tell just by looking at it. Aristo-Craft Trains was initially founded in 1935 by Nathan and Erwin Polk out of Newark, New Jersey. In the 60s, they become known, they were famous for having the largest selection of G-gauge trains available. The G-gauge evolved from the 1 gauge, which was used a lot out in the European markets. The G-gauge trains were typically on a scale of 1/32, that's 3/8 of an inch to the foot, and it ran on a track that had a gauge of 45 millimeters. In 1988, Aristo-Craft teamed up with Railway Express Agencies, REA, to come up with a brand new gauge called 1/29 that also ran on the 45 millimeter G-gauge track. The G45 development filled a need in the American market for American prototypes because a lot of the things prior to this time were a lot of European models. The choice of the 129 scale was to try to compete with the LGB cars because at that time they were a little oversized, so they wanted their cars to kind of match the LGB stuff because they had really had a lot of them out there at this time. Aristo-Craft's 129 scale made them 30% larger than the other manufacturer's 1/32 scale G-gauge that was out available at this time. Turns out that the 129 scale is exactly 3 times larger than the HO 187 scale, so it made it easier for modelers to scratch build buildings, scratch build cars, because they could take existing HO plans, scale it up by 3, and then they could build stuff off of that. After Aristo-Craft came out with the 129 size, 2 other manufacturers jumped on board also, being USA Trains and American Mainline, along with a few other smaller companies, and this made for a wide variety of cars and locomotives available in the 129 size. The earlier releases, the 1988 ones, they were kind of toy-like. They, plastic molding, brass hand railings, but they've come quite along. They're a lot more prototypical now. They're a lot more nicer. They've got radio control on them. They put those out for a while. Dead rail opportunities with the G-gauge, very prominent in the G-gauge markets. The 129 scale is predominantly American mainline stuff, but there is a few European prototypes available and this size range. Well, now that we got the video all stopped right now, we're about halfway through, as usual, when I decide to show up and throw in some useless bits of trivial information. Let's do classic model trains. This week's classic model, do you guys know who this is right here? If you do, type it in the comments down below. If you don't, hang out until the end. I'll let you know who it is. Let's get back into this. A lot of cleaning going on. It didn't look so dirty, but it is. Cleaning up stuff. I'm going to leave this one wheel here together, and I'm going to hopefully use it as a template for my quartering for the other 2 wheels, and then I will take this one apart and then quarter it. Because you could put these wheels on the axles any direction, and there's a lot of combinations that could take place I believe. This guy goes into the back because I remember the 4 screws being towards the back of the cab or the boiler. We're going to start off with the Super Lube multi-purpose synthetic grease. Now, whoever was working on this before, or maybe it's a factory job, I don't know, but it was excessive. It just seemed like a much. Plus, we don't know if it was a petroleum-based or a synthetic grease. The reason you want to use a synthetic is that it won't break down the plastics. This might just be a spacer right in here, but just in case it turns, touch up that bushing right there and this bushing right up in here. Since this one, you can see that landing or that little nipple face in one direction, we're going to do the same with this one. Did I just put fuzz in there? That don't seem right, does it? I know that this was on the top, but we can't have that thing being able to slide around in there like crazy. Of course, this bearing here would hold it in place, yeah. Bushings right out here at the end for the axle. We'll slip these in. This guy's gonna go in. That guy, we're gonna lube up the end of this one right in here. And then that one. Slip a screw. These holes right there, we got to get these wires fed through them. This bushing here is going to be riding in this area, so let's get a little grease in there. And now that I've gotten this far, I don't believe I greased up that gear in there. Dang it, I know I didn't. So pop these screws back out, get some grease on it, put it back together. Hate it when a guy gets in a hurry. There's a lot of going on these ones, so they kind of need a little bit more. You don't got to gab it on so bad, but they need to know that they've been greased. That kind of made it look like I used way too much, doesn't it? There's that one in place. I soldered all the wires back on this one. Little lube for this one, little lube for this one. We'll get this back in here. These screws here hold the thing together. This looks like a poor design. These wires got to be inside of these springs, like so. Sure, side to side, up and down. But that's got definitely a lot of tension going on it too. Holy moly. And it looks like the timing is going to be irrelevant because I can set it in. I got to set the timing here. So we'll take this one apart, clean it up, and then all the wheels. It looks like it's somewhat idiot-proof for me. Like they knew I'd be coming along. That doesn't want to come off. Come on. Goodness. So we got thrust washer and a bushing. Oh, same over here. Man, that was tight. These guys here. So I got to clean that up. Then we'll reassemble that. Now that we got all this together, on the sides in here, you can see that these are timed. They're slotted. So I got the front one and the rear one timed because that's the only two that are geared up. This just fell out. Come on now. Weird setup. Tell you what, we're going to do this and get this whole thing locked back in together. Better now. Put in these 1,000 screws. Start putting the wheels back on. Well, the wheels all go on pretty decent. Pretty straightforward here. That one's down. And then, of course, they're automatically timed for me. All I got to do is just line up that D shape with the one over here. Yep. After you've done a few of these wheels and rods and stuff like that, it gets to be where it's not that bad. Just, piece by piece by piece. Here's a wheel that's got the long rod, and this one's got the not long rod. So the longer one goes in the center. If this was a kit, it'd be a pretty easy one, really. Oh, I forgot to mention when you're putting this cover on, make sure you put your brake details in first because it's sandwiched between the frame. I had to take it apart and do it again. Everybody's tight. These guys go on. It's missing a lot of detail, I think, for what it does have, and then what it doesn't have is just odd. A lot of play in this rod up here at the front. And then this one comes in, and then they just I think they just used this little black, ugly screw with a washer on it. It's like, well, that's ugly. This goes on. Now, these are gonna go on, and they've got special timing things. Oh, and the main rods that come down. So I'm going to put these on after it's all installed. It'll make more sense for me at that time for the valve timing. So there's our wheel assemblies. Everything fixed and everything running like it should. Cleaned out and re-lubed. We never did find a reason why it would be doing what it's doing. What the original owner said it was doing. They could twist. Jeez. This one up and down. And that one's rigid. Here's the chassis metal strips. Picking up the juices in here. That one's loose. I see a capacitor underneath there. I wonder what it's doing. All these steam tubes right here look like they've been jammed in the box. Lost some of their detail. This wheel, it's got a little... No, that's not bad. What if it's got a smoker in it? Loosen up this one. Loosen up this one. Oh, there's a lot going on in there. There's a control board down in there. There's supposed to be... Here's why none of the lights worked. Why is that flopping in the wind? How? This has got way too much details. Dang it. There's 2 wires there flopping. All right, we need a schematic for that. I'm gonna do that later on when the trucks are all put together. We got stuff binding up here. It's not, I think we need to finish putting it on or something's gonna break. I wanna look at the motor. There's some screws back here on a plate. This plate right here. Oh, now I gotta solder more. Is that thing literally just hot glued in? No. Well, let's work on getting this big bugger back in here. Should be easy enough. Came out. Piece of cake. Is that it? Yeah, and then I just gotta get all the timing timed up. That went in there so easy that I'm almost afraid that something isn't right, because I just like literally set it down and it just went in. Unreal. Of course, yeah, we gotta put the rods on. That ain't gonna be tough though. Screw number 2. Screw number 3. Screw number 4. And then this truck here, I think we had this. We had a spring. Little washer, one little screw. Then another screw up over here. Sure. Now the downside is one of them wires came off. And I found that I could take the cab off. And then I found these are switches right here, which probably do the smoke, and they probably do the lights, cab light. This here is a firebox light. Has this rear boiler, and this little thing here was loose because it didn't stay on. But I gotta get to that motor. And I fear that I've got to take the boiler off. We got to get these things back on too, don't we here? Before something bad happens. And these timey thingies, I don't know. I never get them on right. 4 different ways I can put them on, I guess. I need to rotate stuff because I know that when they're 180 degrees out of where the rod is at, is what I believe happens. So if this one is up, I'm going to put the next one down. So that way, if I'm wrong, I'm 100% wrong. No extra parts, so that's a bonus. But I gotta get the boiler off. And there's just a lot of screws underneath here. So I'm gonna do that by exploring this 26. Yeah, I'm glad I found these online. I usually don't have this kind of help going on. And then I'll be back after that. Well, it's not that bad. 4 screws. 2 here, 2 here. I did manage to take off one where I shouldn't have. And now I got to figure out what it was. But I got one of these truck wires back here. It came out. Came unsoldered. And I got to get it back on. And we got to the motor finally. But there just ain't much to that thing at all. And I got to tell you, I would kind of like to see the smoking unit in it. Because I don't think it does much. I don't know how it can. It doesn't have a neutral. It's got a huge weight. I just found there's another switch up here. This must be what turns on the smoke. Lots of little things. And I gotta sit down and try to figure this one out. I'll have to draw a map up here, I guess. I don't even know where you put the smoke in it at. How does this work out? There's a lot of exploratories going on for sure. There's this little cover right here that was sitting on top of this. And down inside there, there's a wick. And that's right where the smoke machine is at. And I'm assuming that's probably why it ain't smoking. We'll throw a little of that in. How much? I don't know. Some. Just to get it wet, I guess. Put that cover on, and this is probably the switch that makes that whole thing happen. And the switch is back over here. I look at these. This one is going to cut the power to the motor. And this one cuts the power to the lights. So I think you can kick that in, and then I can throw the voltage to it, and then we can get something to work. That's what I believe. So we're going to put it back on the track and find out. So we got track voltage. These are on. And when I switch the reverser switch here, so we've got directional lighting on it. So that solves that light issue. I could take this one and push it up, and then it turns the lights off. That's interesting. Pull it out. Lights are on. Motor's turned off. And when I flip that in, then the thing tries to go by itself. Now I've been messing with this switch up here all day, and I don't have anything. I don't have no smoking, no fanning, nothing. But I'm gonna tape these up so they don't short out, and get the cover on, and then let it move, and maybe it puffs when it moves. Just a hypothesis. Well, here's where we are at. For some reason, if I put power directly to these pickups up here, then our fan will spin, except for right now. God, I just had it working out on the deck. Unbelievable. And the smoke's just sort of leaking out. It doesn't even come out the... It's just... Aha. So we got to take this out because it's not making contact. Slowly and surely. Well, that took forever. Man, you got to keep this chest closed tight right here, because that's where all the smoke leaks out at. If it ain't closed tight. Wow. Now time to put it all back together. I've been on this thing now for 4 hours, on and off, messing around with it. Oh man. Well, as much as I'd like to say I really changed the world here, I'm not 100% sure if I ever did it all. I don't think the smoker worked, but it did run. Turn this thing into, get her out of neutral, I guess it would be called. Yeah, lights are all doing what they're supposed to do. I'm running it off this little tiny power pack. Seems to get her done. Wish I had the tender for it. It'd make it a lot prettier to look at, but I guess this is it. Well, I made for an interesting repair that didn't really need one, but it was shipped a long way. I think from the East Coast. This fella shipped it in. I said I'd work on it because I thought it was a little HO size one. This is my second G gauge one that I've ever worked on. All these locomotives, usually when they're being filmed, I've never worked on them before, ever. We're both going through it at the exact same time. So that's why sometimes I do steps a little backwards, taking it apart. And I figure it out as the video goes on, and we get her going, that's for sure. This week's classic model, Gabrielle Miller. She's the actress that plays Lacey Burrows on the Canadian comedy show Corner Gas. This was back in 2004. I just feel like it was just 2 weeks ago when I was watching the series again. And nope, I think she qualifies as a classic model now. Times has changed. We're getting old. Goodness. Want to thank all the 33%ers for hanging out with me. We're trying a new launch date here. We're doing Fridays. See how that works. People like to message me. They write in, hey, are you alive? You okay? You didn't know that came out last Monday. Well, we're trying something a little different here. Thank you for all you support the channels. Thank you to all the channel members out there. We'll see you guys here in hopefully a week. I'm Ron, Classic Model Trains. Bye-bye.